afternoon. You are chatting with Jade Robin. It's 25 minutes to 2 o'clock. What I love so much about Adelaide is the parklands. Everywhere you go, it's just surrounded by beauty. And we're so lucky. You know, if you work in the city, you got a lunch break, pop down, you don't have to walk too far, and you're surrounded by a stunning park. And that's just not the city. That's nearly the whole state. We have got such a beautiful state. And the good thing is the government are investing a lot of money in improvements all around the place. I'm joined in the studio by Sandy Pitcher, who is the Chief Executive of the Department of Environment, Water and Natural Resources. Also, Ian Fehler, founder of EscapeGoat mountain bike tours, and also Simon Hutchinson, the Director of Climbing Trees. Guys, thanks so much for coming in. Nice to have your company.
Thanks for bringing us.
Now, I wanted to ask you, what prompted the state government to spend nearly $10 million to connect city people to nature?
Well, I think for the government it was a recognition that we have all of these amazing parks just on our doorstep, but actually sometimes families weren't really going out and being in those, and they weren't really having that way to connect into the parks. And so it had become a little bit of a, unless you're an expert bushwalker, perhaps you weren't using what was right on your doorstep. So we had a huge community conversation with people and really asked them what would need to change for you to use that park on your doorstep a bit more.
And what they say?
Well, it turned out there were some of the most obvious things that we think about, like, you know, needing a toilet to be able to use, and it'd be nice if there was coffee in the vicinity.
Yeah,
but
right.
actually things like being able to walk dogs in parks, being able to use bikes and mountain biking in parks came up. And when we talked to kids, and there was really great conversations with kids, they were really interested in the way that they can play and be in a park. So the conversations really sparked lots of different ideas.
So whereabouts are you investing money at the moment?
Well, there's a whole range of different parks and different things that we're doing. So Cobblers Creek has got a beautiful new playground and bike area that has seen the visitation really skyrocket. So people in that area have said to me that they've never used that park before, and now they're visiting it at huge numbers. So that's an example of how you really change a space with just a few things that makes it really welcoming. Anstey's Hills, another place, and that recently hosted the Secret River as part of the festival, and that brought people to the park for a really important play that talked about Aboriginal reconciliation, but also brought families and people to the park that wouldn't have come before.
Now, what projects are underway presently in the metro parks that may be of interest to families and also young children?
Well, as a mum, the one I am so excited about, and it can't happen soon enough for me, is the Morialta Conservation Park. And this is going to be such a showcase for our whole community. I think people are going to travel far and wide.
Oh, great. What are they doing?
So it's a playground area.
Do you want me to talk about that one? Because I'm the one who's building it.
Yes, exactly. Let's actually get the builder, not the parent.
Yeah,
nice. What are you doing?
So I've been given that amazing job of sort of designing and building the natural play space there, and I kind of think of it as something that's going to replace the St Kilda and the Monash that of the old, and create something that's a real adventure playground. Because originally when we looked at the park, and Morialta really means a lot to me because I spent a lot of time rock climbing there when I was at university, and it's an absolutely stunning space that's 15 minutes out of the city, and like it was said that not a lot of people don't realise it's there. So what we're creating, it's already a beautiful space, and we're breaking away from the traditional sort of playground and dividing it up into 5 play pods, and they're all sort of different, have Ghana names and themes to them.
Yes.
And one of the ones that I think is my favourite is the Frog Island, which is right in the middle, and already it was an amazing play space for kids. They were building cubbies and playing in the creek there, so we've just done a little bit of stuff there to legitimise that as a play space and allow the kids to play, because what we saw was a lot of parents weren't letting their kids actually go down there and play in there. So, hopefully that will be a really popular space. We've got a giant eagle's nest tower and a kookaburra's nest, which is a series of these giant nests that the kids can crawl in, and a giant snake, which they can crawl over, under, through, with a creek bed in that one too, and some giant bouldering rocks that they can sort of get a taste of rock climbing and hopefully progress up the creek further to some real rock climbing. So,
how important was it for you to get kids back to nature?
It's for me and my business, that's what it's all about. I come from a teaching background, and certainly where I came from, I grew up in York Peninsula and had the free-range childhood that most of us had, where, you know, you got kicked out of the door and weren't allowed back in until the street lights came on, or, you know, mum whistled you back.
Oh, the good old days.
I know. How good was it, you know?
I'd love to see that come back. And you know, when you said, you know, the parents wouldn't let their kids go down to the creek, and, you know, as a parent, I kind of get that, but it's also like, who cares if they get their shoes wet? Who cares if they scratch their knee? I get the whole, what if they fall in the creek and can't swim? Sure, fair enough. But when you're dealing with just little creeks and rocks, you want the kids to feel it, touch it, know.
And I think some parents forget what it was like when they were kids too. And that's usually my question with some difficult parents that won't let them kids get dirty. I'm like, what did you do when you were a kid? And, you know, how did that make you the person you are today? And they soon realise that those things, that opportunity to get dirty and play and take risks is a part of, you know, being human, and it's how we learn those little scratches and bruises. We call them learning injuries because that's what they are. They're not a bad thing. They're a great thing, you know. Yeah. Because we do learn from that every time. So, you know, so it's fantastic to sort of encourage that play, you know, back and get parents, you know, out. I've just recently run something on the weekend and we had 1,500 kids running through the mud. It was a mud play day or a mud run for under 8s, and it was just incredible. The joy in the children's
Was that in Millswood?
It was the corner of East and South Terrace, so it was Squelch. I
sent the kids off to one in Millswood the other day, and it was brilliant. They came home. I had to throw out all the clothes because there was just no recovery. But God, it was good. I was like, whose smart idea is this, just to get kids to run in mud? Like, awesome. Yeah. Back to nature, get filthy, and just learn nature.
That's right.
Be in the environment. No, I completely agree. Okay, so how long until we see that one?
Fingers crossed, if we don't get rainy days like this continually, we'll be playing on that play space sort of, you know, at the start of August. Ready for, I think, Park of the Month is Morialta for September, I think. So we'll definitely be ready to go then and see some happy, smiling laughter on that play space. So it should be fantastic.
Oh, sounds very good. Now, I wanted to also ask you, we understand that camping is going to soon be available in a couple of our metro parks. When and where? That sounds very exciting.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's this thing of how do we make the parks available for people who aren't using them at the moment, and what needs to change. And so we're asking people what makes you want to go camping or not camping, and often it was the sort of, oh God, I have to pack so much in the car, we have to drive so far, the kids get sick. So there was a lot of, the distance was one of the barriers for people just getting into camping. I think once people have camped a bit, they love, you know, having bigger journeys up to the Flinders. So we're actually going to do something that hasn't really happened in Adelaide for a long time, which is have camping available in those parks that really ring the city. So there's Onkaparinga River National Park and Rec Park, and that's in the southern suburbs near Noarlunga Downs, and then Parawira as well, Parawira Conservation Park in the north, which is near One Tree Hill. And there's going to be campgrounds, toilets, car parks, trails. There's a lookout, and even kayak and canoe launches at some of the parks. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And how's construction going there? When can we pitch a tent?
Well, it's getting closer. So we're looking in time for summer, which is, you know, gives us a bit of leeway for Onkaparinga. So hopefully that'll be November, December. And
time for the Chrissy holidays.
Yeah, that's right. So, and people will be able to book in and get those done. So,
and I see horse rides and cycling and walking. Yeah, it's nice. What other activities are being held in parks that go beyond, you know, the traditional rest and recreational type activities?
Well, particularly with the mountain biking, there's an awful lot of mountain biking now that's happening through the state. So that's really, really good. It's fantastic that over the last few years, more and more of the parks have been opened up. So I set my business up, EscapeGoat Adventures, back in about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And when we first started, we was just starting running skills training, and there was really nowhere in the hills that we could actually take people riding because most of the parks were off limits. So subsequently, we worked with Duna then. About 6-7 years ago, we got special permission to ride through Cleveland and run trips through there. And then since then, that's been opened up to general public mountain biking. And we've had, you know, there's been massive trail building down in Craigburn Farms, Dirt Gorge, Shepherd's Hill, Cobbler's Creek. So it's just fantastic. The more and more trails are just happening, and more parks are opening up to mountain biking.
And what I love, Ian, is, the other day I was driving up to Stirling and, you've got the mountain bike or a mountain bike track through there.
Yep.
And it's kids as well. It's not just adults that are involved with mountain biking, is it? Everyone can get involved.
It's all sorts. So, particularly like down at Shepherd's Hill.
Yes.
There's been a great little pump track that's been built, and you go there on the weekends, and there's kids all ages there. The little skills training sessions. So yeah, mountain biking and riding's for all ages. And I think the oldest person we've had on one of our tours was a 78-year-old guy called Bill from the US, who came on one of our trips and rode down Mount Lofty.
That's very cool.
Sandy's done the Mount Lofty trip with us as well.
Yep.
Scale of 1 to 10, how hard is it?
Oh, it was really easy in one way because we were going downhill.
Good
So
point.
that was the best part. I thought that was beautifully planned. Didn't have to ride back up the hill at the end. And we did stop for coffee along the way and a bushfire and not a bushfire.
And to visit, we stopped in at the wildlife park and stuff like
nice.
that. So, it does depend on the days. So I was running the trip this morning, and it was certainly a little bit damp up Mount Lofty today. We missed out the views, but it's all part of the fun actually when you actually get out on the mountain bike.
Oh, it does. It looks awesome. I understand that further money's been spent on bike trails. Is that right?
Yeah, certainly what we're doing is part of recognising how popular it is and how many people are using them. And because there are so many parts of the trails that can be used for walking and for cycling, we've got another 1.4 million that's going to... Our basic aim is to turn the Mount Lofties into an international mountain biking destination. And so to do that, we're putting some money in, getting the plans together and really looking at some new trails as well as the trails that we already use.
From all of your experiences, how well, I guess, are South Australians and also tourists from further afield using these trails? Are they coming here and lining up, and is business growing? Are you seeing a growth?
Well, certainly. Locals, there are a lot of locals that mountain bike. It's a very, very popular sport, and it's growing all the time. So we do a lot of skills training with those locals, and we see that a lot. The other side of my business is the more the tourism side of things, and that's a lot more soft adventure tourism. So it's not necessarily, at the moment, we're finding it's not necessarily the keen mountain bikers that know about Adelaide, but it's tourists that are coming through for a different experience. And I think this is where we're really needing to focus. It's part of hopefully what the department's going to be focusing on, is that we've got this network of trails now. We've got the hills 7 kilometres from town.
Yeah.
And people don't know about it. They don't realise that overseas and interstate visitors don't realise how great it is to be able to come to Adelaide, stay in the city, and you've got 200 kilometres of trails within easy reach. And so that really is certainly from my point of view, is the focus, is what really needs to be focused. There's a few more trails to be built, some fantastic descents, I think some really hero trails that we need down through Mount Lofty and in that area. But it's also getting that message out there that we've got this amazing terrain so close to town.
We're going to take a very short break, but afterwards we're going to be talking about World Environment Day and all the fun activities that'll be happening around town for you to get involved in. Good afternoon, it is 1:53 and you're chatting with Jade Robrin, and we're talking about all the parklands around South Australia and how the government is improving them. And I wanted to put the calls out to you, 8223 0000. What is your favourite park around town, and where's the best place to take the kids? Have you got any ideas for park? What would you like to see improved around town? Give us a call and let us know. Sandy, it's World Environment Day on Monday, the 5th of June, and there's a huge event happening at the showgrounds, isn't there, to help celebrate it? What's that all about? What's happening?
Yeah, so we're having a World Environment Fair, and really it's bringing that part of having fun and thinking about the environment into that fair kind of atmosphere, again, focused on kids and learning and fun and celebration, and recognising in South Australia we've got a lot to celebrate.
So what can people expect to see at the fair? Kids love getting involved and being hands-on with this sort of stuff, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, and it is all about hands-on. So I think we're having the biggest indoor play play space that has ever been done. Yeah. And you can tell us a bit more about that. I don't want to steal the thunder of the
So Simon, you're behind this?
Yes, I've got roped into that one as well.
Cool.
So,
what are you doing?
Midst of building Morialta at the same time. So
just a little bit busy then.
Just a little bit busy, but that's okay. So, but it should be fantastic. I absolutely jumped at the opportunity because I think, the whole essence of, my business is getting kids outdoors and connecting with nature, because if they don't have time in nature, they're never going to love it and want to take care of it. So, that's what we really need to do. And this is a great celebration of that. So what we'll be doing is, I think we've got about a 20 by 30 metre space that we'll be having trucking in and craning in a tree that kids can climb on. So soft fall and 4 different pods. We'll bring in some woven sort of, pods for them to play in, loose parts. We'll have cubby building, a dry creek bed, and anything else I can think of before now and sort of Saturday. So it should be an amazing experience. So
ideas can still keep flowing,
throw them in.
We'll give us a call if there's any kids or mums and dads listening and you want to, have your input. Let us know. Call 8223 0000. I love that you reach out to kids to help you with these ideas, don't you? What do you find that they want the most?
It's interesting to get, because obviously the playgrounds that we build are natural playgrounds, so it's natural environment, so it's hard for kids to think beyond what they already see. So if you ask them what they want in their new playground, they'll say, I want a giant slide, I want a water slide, a swimming pool, a 5-story tree house, all these crazy things. I think the best one I ever heard was a slippery dip that went underneath a pond that had a clear tunnel underneath, so as they slid under the pond they could look up and see the fish underneath. So I thought that was amazing, but unfortunately finances
didn't allow it.
Budget didn't allow that one, but
hardly surprising, but I like it. Up there for thinking.
Do too. And that's the beautiful thing about asking kids, they come up with the most amazing ideas, and sometimes we can do them, sometimes we need to modify them a little bit, but it's really important, I think, is the question you ask is, what do you want to do? And when you say what you want to do, it changes. It's not a giant slide. They say, I want to jump, I want to run, I want to play, so then you can sort of tease out those things you can do in natural forms. So it's really, really important to sort of ask them the questions, because they're the ones who are going to be using it. So
true.
And the other thing that we're doing is jumping onto the things that kids also love to do. So they love fire trucks. I know my kids do. And so we're bringing the Juna fire truck into the World Environment Fair and talking about what we do there with helping protect our environment from bushfires and other things with the fire truck.
Yes.
We've got the boat that we use in our marine parks coming in. So kids will be able to hop on the boat and have a go there, hop on the platform and look around. And we're also having a green trail, which is a little bit like the yellow brick road that you might have done when you've gone to the Royal Adelaide show. So we're going to have a green trail, and kids are going to be able to go and collect things and learn things along the way and, fill their bags with goodies. So from story corners to playgrounds to fire trucks, I think it's going to be a pretty great fair.
I tell you what, there's so much to celebrate, isn't there, with our parks and gardens?
Oh, it is. And I think it's that thing that sometimes you just have to be reminded of how much we've got here in South Australia. I know I talk about Kangaroo Island a lot because it's that place where, it's now in the Lonely Planet top visits of the world. I think it's like the top 5 visit destination. I keep meeting South Australians who say, I haven't gone there
haven't.
yet.
It's terrible. I haven't.
You're going to have to come with us because we know all of the great spaces around there. Like the rangers on KI know all the best walks to do. So
it's just so pretty, isn't it? It's and I wanted to also talk to you about waste management and climate change. There is a very serious side to, World Environment Day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think climate change is another example of where, serious things are happening to the globe. And my experience is that kids understand this and talk about it, and they recognise that there's things that we all need to do and change.
Really.
Exactly, and it's their planet that they're going to be inheriting. So what I do find, though, is trying to take it from the sense of impending doom to what can you do? So what's the action?
Let's
what
change
can we
it before it is doom.
That's right. And that's the part that I really love engaging with kids about, because they know that they can change from recycling. They probably know more about climate change than some of their parents do. So it's, my kids love sort of showing me up on those kind of things. So I think it's one of the things that kids can channel. And that's one of the ways that we're trying to think differently about climate climate change. So we talk about carbon neutral Adelaide and trying to have Adelaide as the world's first carbon neutral city. And the reason that we've done that is in part to sort of share a bit of an aspiration about what can we positively do together. And that's what I really try and remind people about, is there is action that we can do, and we can actually change things in our local decision making, our community decision making, as well as what we need to do globally to have a different climate.
Well, Sandy, what have you done to help sustain our natural resources and waste management and climate change and water and, the list goes on?
Yeah, there's a lot we've done, and there's a lot more we can do. I mean, South Australia has a hugely proud history around waste, and the thing I often talk about, and I remember this as a kid, is being the only place in Australia that had the refund for bottles, the bottle recycling, the plastic container recycling, and that's actually been, we've hit 40 years this year.
How good's that?
We are world leaders, and certainly leaders in Australia on that, and the other states are just joining in now. So I think we're going to finally have national container deposit legislation in the coming years. But, we've got the 40 years of experience. And then we were the first place in Australia to ban the plastic bag.
Well, that's what's so... I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but on ABC last week or the week before, they had that show, War on Waste. Yeah. And it was one of their highest rating shows, and a lot of it was about these plastic bags. And I was watching, I was thinking, how on earth is the rest of Australia so far? I mean, Canberra do it, I believe. But we're leaders, aren't we, in so many ways with all of this sort of thing. It's very commendable.
It is, and the great part is, I often think it's the way that, when you're a kid with Scouts or other things, it's a fundraiser, you are actually turning the positive story there. You're understanding that, plastic waste ends up in our oceans often, and there's real damage there. But then there's the other part too. There's, we've got so many solar panels in South Australia, more than anywhere else in Australia, and one of the highest levels in the world. Well, we need to be the ones ready for the recycling of those components when this round of solar panels needs to be replaced, 20 or 30 years. What will be next? And thinking about those other forms of recycling. And that's one of the things that we do with our waste levy and with our waste schemes, is actually trying to think of new industries, new jobs, and be much more forward thinking about what the whole circular economy looks like. So not just recycling everything, but actually making different choices about what we consume and how we consume it in the whole big circle of the way things twist and turn.
Sandy, thank you very much. Ian and Simon, thanks for coming into the studio.